and welcome back to my channel of haunted history, aka Tales by me, Manda K, who is your host with the most haunted tales I conjure up for your spooky entertainment. I know I vanished for a while, but I promise I am back and all is well. I just lost my creative spark for a bit, but here I am with more spookier tales and even more haunted locations. So get your haunted tour passes ready. This very eerie location is 2 hours from my hometown. I have seen this location in person, and she is a massive fortress with very, very creepy vibes. And we are going to Jolliet, Illinois to visit the Jolliet prison. Now, this prison was used from 1858 to 2002. Two men, contractor Lorenzo P. Sagner and warden Samuel K. Casey, had some kind of a convict labor lease. So this prison was built by its very own prisoners. So 33 inmates arrived in May of 1858 to begin construction. The exterior of this prison has a Gothic feature of limestone and a very European-esque castle likeness for that time period. They wanted to match the Chicago Water Tower, I guess, but this style was a trend of the late 1800s. Now, in July of 1860, 2 years later, the first prisoners arrived, and they were Civil War criminals. Now, I went down a small rabbit hole of what these crimes consisted, and a lot of it was robbery, murder, I guess, like criminal spy work, and essay against women. But in 1896, a cell block for women was built across from the male penitentiary. It was a mini replica of the men's prison. But here's an interesting fact. The women's prison was actually inside the male prison. But someone must have thought that this was a terrible, horrible idea. And women, we kind of like our own space. So in 1933, female prisoners were moved from Joliet to Oakdale, a women's reformatory, also known as DeWitt or DeWitt, depending how you pronounce it, or for where you're from, the pronunciation, correctional center. And when that happened, the women's portion of Joliet was used for men, making it again an all-men's prison. And some of the inmates at Joliet are really well known, like Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb. They were known to have committed the crime of the century, but I'm going to leave that crime to the professional crime show podcasters. So if you guys want to find out, you guys can do your own investigation, but I'm leaving that to the professionals. Lester Joseph Gillis, aka Babyface Nelson, he served time here at Joliet. Now, he was a mobster, and most of his crime was forgery, murder, robbery. I'm not 100% sure what mobsters do, but that's pretty much the gist of that. Everyone should know this name, John Wayne Gacy. He served time at Joliet, and so did James Earl Ray. Now, if you're not familiar with that name, he was the guy who assassinated Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And another serial killer, how do I want to word it? Served time here at Jolliet. I was going to use a more creepy word, but Richard Speck was a serial killer that served here at Jolliet. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is the right guy, but I'm pretty sure Speck was the one that killed a lot of nurses around the Chicago area. And actually all these men called Joliet prison home. But in 1975, Joliet was in the headlines not for one inmate, but a horrid incident inside the prison walls. At the time, a Chicago street gang took over a cell block and held several correctional officers hostage. There was so much rioting going on, all because some of these gang members were being transferred to other prisons and they didn't want to be like separated because I guess they felt like they kind of needed each other, you know, for all the other criminals that were there. They probably felt like, oh, if we have these guys here, we'll be more protected and we'll be a lot stronger. But they wanted to move some of the prisoners of that gang to a different location. And it was such a messy and scary situation that ended up taking a life of a former gang member, Herbert Catlett. He was trying to defuse the riots and he ended up murdered. But keep the story in mind though, because it will come back to haunt you. In 1990, over 1,300 inmates were housed here in Joliet. The same year, 6 inmates escaped through a 9 by 14-inch opening, and only 1 out of the 6 was ever recaptured. So there's that story. And then in 2000, the Joliet population was 1,156, with only 541 staff members. Now, due to budget cuts, unsafe conditions, Joliet prison decided we gotta close its doors. So they closed for good. And then in 2017, there was an arson attack on the abandoned prison to several of the buildings. The buildings that did survive are now open for tours. Now, my lovely ghouls, time for the haunts. Back as far as 1932, prisoners began hearing singing from the convict cemetery. Every night for a month that summer, singing was heard. Some say it sounded like hymns being sung in a foreign language. Or was it? Could it have been some sort of warning? Or a singing banshee calling out warnings to prisoners? Don't come near here. No one ever saw anything, not even the tower guards, who could see for miles from their lofty perches. Disembodied voices are very eerily common, being heard throughout the prison walls. Even whistling can be heard from cell to cell, and feelings of always being watched are very common to visitors. Shadow figures and screams of pain fill these prison walls. And one explanation could be the many executions. Some say electrocutions, some say electrocutions, some could be from lethal injections, some even murder. And it's very possible, since Catlett was murdered in these prison cells, that his ghost, his soul is likely to roam the prison. He might even be the one doing the whistling. And another prisoner that they have seen through these walls is serial killer John Wayne Gacy. After all these years, he still haunts Jolliet prison. I wonder how many times Gacy has even haunted other people's nightmares. There's a book. I have it. I can't remember the title, and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. But there was a young boy who ended up writing letters to Gacy. I guess there was a movie made about the book, but I haven't read it yet. It's in my to be read, but that's all I'm going to say about that. If I find the title, I'll have it linked below. But yeah, so there is that. But yeah, John Wayne Gacy lived his final years in Joliet, and his clowning shrills can sometimes be heard throughout the prison. These are just a few of the haunts. Now, time for some sweets that I dug up in this graveless underbelly. The TV show Destination Fear, Journey to Joliet, and Ghost Adventures with the Zach Bagans explored here at Joliet. So you might want to too. And the exterior of the prison made appearances in the 1949 film White Heat, 1980 movie The Blues Brothers. They shot the beginning scenes at Joliet. And how about more recent? Seasons 1 and 2 of the series Prison Break was filmed at Joliet. Now, in 2019, it was also used in the film Let's Go to Prison. Perfect title, right? Now, during the month of October, Joliet is used as a Halloween haunted attraction, which is a no for me because I like my spooks unseen. But there you have it, my ghouls, a spooky haunted story of an Erie, Illinois prison. And it is so good to be back. But I need to vanish, but not for long. I have missed you, ghouls, and I hope you miss me. I demand you have a beautiful and frightful night. Bye-bye.